I guess excited to hear what Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, AJ Brown had to say yesterday. And I feel like they all did a pretty good job of, I guess, diffusing the proverbial fire that Brandon Graham started. Um, so yeah, I'm doing good, man. What about you, Q?
What can I say, man? I'm glad that we're on to Pittsburgh. In the words of Chapel Bill, if that's the guy's name nowadays.
Brother, that is crazy. That is insane. Like seeing it today, the press conference, like seeing him as a college coach, that's crazy.
I don't know, man. He's assembling a team of NFL staff, going to go
Mike
beat
Lombardi.
up ACC.
Bozo.
Hey, oh yeah, that bozo. Once I was looking, I was like, ain't that the guy that told Doug Peterson that he wasn't qualified to be an NFL coach? I guess you weren't qualified to be an NFL GM, huh? You had to go to college. But whatever. It is what it is. Well, beloved dub to those who celebrate. It's Adam one and only Mark Wilford Owens. Like you said, Parth, getting ready for our in-state rival. It's interesting, man, because when you think about the Steagles matchup, you think about all the historical reference behind it, how they had to become one team during the World Wars and things of that nature. Doing my research, interesting enough, I honestly found out that the Eagles are on a 10-game win streak against the Pittsburgh Steelers when the Steelers come into Philadelphia. The Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia since 1965. That means Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, all your favorite legendary Steelers coaches, even though there's only 3 of them. None of them have acquired a win in Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how this matchup goes this week.
They've had 3 coaches. We've had 3 coaches in the last 10 years, but who's keeping count? No. You know who's like the first Eagle to Steeler that I remember like in following football closely? Brandon Boykin. Shout out to him, man. I thought he was the truth, bro.
Bro.
And he had a really good game against the Steelers too. Like that.
That's
that
a
year
hell of a pull, Parth.
Brandon Boykin was the man, bro. And then I remember he had like his legs were like uneven in terms of length, so he had like a hip issue. Brandon Boykin, you won't be forgotten, man. The Philly Blitz remembers.
Eagles legend.
Eagles legend.
Who was that? Kyle Orton to seal the division.
Yep. That was legendary.
Bro, I never forget that game. Right after Brandon Boykin intercepted him, they cut to Jerry Jones in the press box and he like threw something down.
Man. But
all right, guys. I mean, Pierre said it at the beginning. You know, things got diffused a little bit this week. I think they did a good job handling everything. And you know, Eagles fans will criticize our players, but when somebody else comes after our players, that's when things start getting personal. So people are pulling up receipts and things like that. And yeah, I love seeing that for sure. I mean, I just saw this quote from an article from 2 years ago about, you know, Hurts and Brown and Gardner Minshew, comparing them to a married couple and the way that they bicker and, you know, just being like brothers and being able to argue. And the thing that was mentioned is they're able to talk to each other unlike anybody else on the team is able to talk to them. So they're going to talk. They're going to figure it out. You know, and the Eagles were kind of slick, you know, with all the drama going on this week, posting the AJ Brown or at 1K always open hashtag Pro Bowl vote. And they posted the Steelers game from last year when AJ had the hat trick, the pointing and all that. So this is a game where they can get right. But, you know, we talked about it privately in our chat and things like that, where, you know, Pierre was talking to somebody where it just was the worst thing that you can do and that Jalen can do in this game is just over target AJ. Appreciate you, Anthony. You're the GOAT too, brother.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you tapping in, man. And, you know, all good luck on your next ventures. So whoever you are, we're lucky to have you, man. So all the best. What's up? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you on mute, Pierre?
Yeah, my man.
I'm muted. My bad. We got to get him on the pod soon.
Absolutely. One of these days you got to hop on. But yeah, you know, we were just talking about how it would be really bad if Jalen just goes and over targets AJ. Don't overcorrect. We need to find the solutions in this offense and find the long-term answers, you know, and that goes to coaching staff, players, and everything. We don't need to get into it a bunch again, but, you know, just listening to Fran Duffy's breakdown, A lot of it is on Jalen, but a lot of it is on coaching staff too, man. Why are we running routes on third down that are short of the sticks? Just these little things that are just annoying, bro. Why can't we just run the routes to the sticks? I always remember that being a coaching point.
That's my main thing. Like when you pass as little as this Eagles team does, your kind of, I guess, margin for error is razor thin. Like, you can't have, like you just talked about, Parth. You can't have the design errors like we saw last week. Like, for example, I remember I can't remember which quarter, but it was 3rd and 7.
Yep.
And
Exactly
the only the only available answer for Jalen realistically was a deep shot to AJ, and the other routes they're kind of just isolated. It reminded me back of in 2023. Like, you gotta, like we always talk about, you gotta marry things together.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a sustainable way to play football offensively.
And we said that about Quell. Sorry, Quell, I just want to say one thing about this because he just said it felt like throwing plays together, throwing routes together. Quell has the multiplicity and all those different things he can do. And you talked about that as a positive in your article, Pierre, at the beginning of the year. But you also mentioned in that same article, you have to marry them together. It can't just be like, oh, we're going to do this on this side, do this here. Bring them together. I always just come back to mesh, man. Like it's such a basic concept, but it's the exact type of thing that we're talking about. It's scheming guys open. It's finding easy answers. It's a route concept that will always have an answer. So it's finding those easy answers. So what were you going to say about it, Quell?
I just think listening to what Jalen Hurts has said throughout the week has been very interesting to me. And I mean, not just Jalen. I mean, of course, AJ, everyone has spoken. I mean, Devonta, Jordan, everyone who has spoken, they've actually spoken about how the passing game can improve. So it was honestly funny to see how AJ's got blown up. Now, when you refer back to AJ's presser, and he was talking about how he did this purposely. He said that passing purposely. Now, people took it out of whack and made it something that it shouldn't have been, but he wanted to put the notice out for the entire offense. Now, dating back to Jalen Hurts, who, I mean, he kind of resembled the same message as A.J. Brown, but his was a bit more meticulous to me. When you listen to him over the past couple parsers, when you listen to him on Sunday, when he used the word synchronization, when you listen to him, I believe it was today he spoke, or was it yesterday he spoke, when they asked him, ZB asked him, so what's going on? What would you say, basically? And he said, I mean, I look at myself and say, what can I do better, basically, first and foremost. And ZB asked him, so what's the answer? And he said, finding a rhythm. The rhythm is the most important thing. So that's another thing that stands out to me, which brought me to the question more so. I don't want to say it like it's a bad thing, because of course, like we continue to talk about marrying concepts together, things of that nature, blah, blah, blah. But do you believe that the run game is a detriment to the offense? Not the offense, but the passing game. Now, hear me out when I say this. Of course, you have the MVP and things of that nature. But a few pods ago, we talked about how the Eagles offense was resembling of the Warriors. And they got the layups and the threes and the things of that nature. Now, of course, when you talk about three-point shooters, you got some three-point shooters. Not everybody can be Steph Curry. Some guys are like what we call nowadays a microwave. You need touches to heat up, volume shooters. And you think back to the passing game, when you look at how often they rely on the easy button, as we call it in Saquon Barkley. Do you guys think that, I mean, of course, AJ got asked, how hard is it for you to get in the rhythm himself with limited touches? And he spoke on, like, just trying to do what I can with what I got. But the same for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who, I mean, he's never been a quote-unquote volume passer, but the offense has always been a A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith show. So he's thrown the ball around the field over the last couple of years. So now to be basically scaled back, how exactly does he find a rhythm in all this as well? So I just wanted to get you guys' thought on that.
It's a really interesting way to put it, man. And I like the way that you put it, because when you say it out loud, you had to clarify it for a reason, because it sounds stupid, right? Like, why is the running game hurting the passing game? Like that shouldn't happen, right? When we think about a good running game, we think about it opening things up in the passing game. And that's clearly that's not what's been happening with the Eagles. And I think it goes back to the word that you said a second ago from AJ's interview, and that we've talked about on this podcast for years. Confirms that AJ's a listener. Side note, thank you, AJ. Appreciate you listening, man. But it's rhythm, man. It's rhythm. If you can get them into a rhythm early, if you can get some of those easy passes, as much as you need to get a shooter going, as much as you need to get a running back going, you need to get your receivers going too. It can't just be like, oh, AJ, second quarter, and we're in the 2-minute drill. We're going to throw you the ball for the first time now. Like, why? Why are you doing that? Why don't you have him warmed up? And especially a guy like AJ, who Saquon today or yesterday called him the best player on the team, which is, I mean, you just got to love it when these types of like just all world players are constantly like, no, this guy is better than me. No, this guy is better than me. And that's why this team, even though the product on the field has been subpar in terms of the passing game, that's why I have faith in them figuring it out, man. And Pierre had this tweet earlier today. Saquon's the ultimate team guy. I just wanted to mention something like that guy. Imagine like somebody tweeted, they were like, imagine him like putting like 200 yards on you and then just being like, "Good game, man," and like shaking your hand, and you just can't even be mad. Like he's a good dude, hyping up Jake and all those types of things. So, point being, these guys are going to work to figure it out, but you need to make sure you get all the players going. And AJ can make any play into a touchdown. We've talked about that so many times. We've seen it. Curl, and all of a sudden, oh, AJ's gone 40 yards. It's a touchdown. So it's just important to make sure all your players are getting the ball. And I mean, it sounds simple when you say it out loud, but for some reason it's just been more complicated than that. But I think the run game would be helping the passing game if we didn't waste the entire first quarter. And I know we talked about first drives, but wasting the entire first quarter is a different story, and you have to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. What do you think, Pierre?
Yeah. So, typically, like you talked about, Quell, like you want the running game to open up the passing game, right? But it's like for this specific Eagles offense, it's different. Like the passing game kind of operates as a complementary piece of the running game. And so I think, the key there is, again, it goes back to marrying things together and, scripting things off of your run game. And it's like they try to do it like with the little RPO when they go no huddle, little RPO quick passes that they try and do every game. But again, it's just the consistency factor that they're missing. Like Jalen talked about it, AJ talked about it, Smitty talked about it. Like it's the synchronology of it all, right? And then another point, like you talked about, Parth. For me, I think that's been the biggest thing over the course of this week, right? The overall, I guess I could put it, self-awareness of the team. At the beginning of the week or end of the game last week, AJ, he could have handled it differently. He didn't have to go and air things in the media just like Brandon Graham did. But at the same time, I think it's the perspective with which you look at it, right? Like you want guys that care, right? Like we as fans, as Philadelphia sports fans, that's what we love in our players. We love when they care. We love when they show effort, right? You want guys that are kind of obsessed with getting it right and are pissed off when they don't play to the standard that they've set. So, I think, you understand AJ's perspective in that the overall passing offense, it needs to be better. Like it needs to be more synchronized. Jalen flat out has to play better. Just like the entire unit has to play better. But I mean, you don't want to be here, week 14 going to week 15, right? But again, I think it's like everyone said, it's a very fixable issue. But again, it starts with being aware that there are issues, like you talked about. Well, go ahead.
I guess let's get this out of the way now, because I mean, the conversations have continued for weeks, and I mean, yeah, we make the jokes that the goalposts always move when we talk about Jalen Hurts, but what exactly is better for Jalen Hurts? Because we've talked about it in our chats and all. I mean, with some of these charts say 27th and what was the EPA?
Mm-hmm. Bro, I saw a chart. I don't remember which statistic it was. It had my dog behind Will Levis, bro.
Yeah, and things of that nature where it's like, I mean, okay, by the numbers, well, he's not playing well, at least there.
Winning,
but then you look at the other, you look at the other numbers starting with winning, and you look at his numbers where it's like responsible for 20 plus touchdowns during this 9-game winning streak, only turned the ball over twice. Like he's doing what it takes to win the game. Now, I mean, of course, if the conversation that we're having is Jalen Hurts among the top 5 quarterbacks in the league and things of that nature, it's going to be always hard to prove that statistically. But like Jalen also said in his presser the other day, I think people just have to understand that winning is what he is. He doesn't care what his stats look like. He doesn't care how he gets done. And I mean, he's been like that dating back to his days at Alabama, where, I mean, just do what it takes to win the game.
Doesn't matter. Just win. Yeah.
And I mean, I think
at the same time, though,
lost in this.
At the same time, though, like I don't think it's hyperbole or it's like a overstatement or understatement, whatever way you want to phrase it. Like you can't play how they played as a passing offense and expect to win last week. That's not.
They won because they were better
Yeah.
than the Panthers, and that's how they've gotten a lot of their victories. Well, to answer your question, honestly, I don't think we should have to choose because we've seen the best of both worlds, and that's, I think, the most frustrating part about all of this for all these Eagles fans, because then it does allow the bozos and the national media to start moving the goalposts or doing whatever they do. I mean, dude, Chase Daniel's a dumbass, dude. I don't know why we gave that guy any money. Like, what a fraud. Like, I mean, we're laughing, but it's actually, as a journalist, he has no journalistic integrity. I mean, he gets on there and he's spouting on a whole segment about how, oh, it'd be so much better if Jalen Hurts takes accountability. Jalen Hurts taking accountability. What are you smoking, dude? Like, that's all he does. Like, and then somebody clipped it up, and it's literally this week, Jalen taking responsibility. So, I mean, at one point, you just have to learn to ignore the national media. Quell and I mean, we brought this up. It was our first conversation. Like, they hate us, right? I mean, think about the national media darlings. You know who they are, and you know who their rivals are, and you know who kicks their ass. So they're not going to be happy about it. But, you know, the frustrating part is that we've seen it, and that was the main point. And so we've seen Jalen go into this shell. And I've been thinking back to the last couple of weeks where we were talking about it. We were like, you know, Jalen's doing what he needs to. He's being the game manager. But we were also seeing the signs the entire time where it was just like, oh, he's not taking the shots nearly as much. And I think it reared its face because the last two defenses that we faced have given up a lot of explosive plays. They've been some of the worst defenses against explosive plays. Now you can say, all right, the other team gets paid too and all those types of things. But these were the games where, you know, you're supposed to see something from the passing game as well, at least signs of life. And the fact that it's trended downwards is what's been concerning. So Jalen Hurts can say, yeah, I win. And he knows that, but he also knows inside, like, the passing game has to be better. Because if any, like, he's not an idiot. He knows it too. I mean, you can't have 84 net passing yards and expect to win games against good teams. I mean, you beat the Carolina Panthers barely too. I mean, if Xavier Legette makes that catch, we're also having different conversations, you know? So, and, you know, you never want to play that game of like what happens and anything, but it shouldn't have been that close. We were predicting 35-10 as the prediction for the game. So, yeah, I don't think we should have to choose. Jalen just needs to be himself, you know, he's played football taking risks while not being stupid. You know, and he needs to find that balance again. And I think we all kind of agree that it's been coaching points, whatever it might be, whatever is going on in that quarterback room, but they need to dial it back a little bit and let him go out there and play football, man, because he's not playing football right now.
Yeah, so I think it goes back to, I think it was, I don't remember if it was last year or 2022 when Jalen had the quote, but he talked about, would you rather win and not play to the standard, or would you play to the standard but you lose, right? And we're kind of trying to find the best of both worlds. We want to play to the standard and we want to win. But again, like we just talked about, at the end of the day, winning is truly the only thing that matters, right? It don't matter how it looked, how you get there. It's just winning. But the thing is, you can't win. Like I said, you can't win consistently in this league playing how they played as a passing offense last week. And, you know, like we just talked about, like, the key thing for me is the fact that they've acknowledged that, hey, that wasn't a good performance. That wasn't our standard last week, right? Like Jalen, he acknowledged that he holds on to the ball too long. But again, I think it's not, like I said, it's not just solely a Jalen issue. The entire operation has to be better. But again, like I said, I think the key thing here is they're aware of it. Like, they know that they have to get it fixed. It's not a thing where it's like, hey, we just know how to win. Nah, they know that, you know, they won last week because they just are the more talented team. But it's not sustainable to play like that and expect to win.
Certainly, man. And I think the conversation to be had and why AJ brought all this up was just the direction that the offense is trending. Because, I mean, if we want to play semantics about everything, yeah, they won last week because they're just better than Carolina. And 84 net passing yards isn't going to be doable for it. But let's not act like for the week before that and the week before that and the week before that, the passing game wasn't overly competent. He may have missed a pass or two, but they were consistently moving the ball down the field, specifically in no huddle when they threw the ball. So it's not like that the Eagles can't do it. It just wasn't a good performance. Now, I mean, kind of date back with what you just said, Pierre. Like Jalen Hurts said, would you rather play to the standard and lose or not play to the standard and win. And I think about that quote often because how I personally see it is Jalen Hurts played what many of us consider probably the best modern day quarterback performance in the Super Bowl, and that team lost. And look at the conversation surrounding Jalen Hurts right now. So let's just, I mean, of course, we don't want to play what ifs and what nots and things of that nature, but let's just say Jalen Hurts and the Eagles go to the Super Bowl this year, and the Eagles win because Saquon Barkley ran for 216 yards, and Jalen Hurts had three touchdowns and 82 passing yards. What's the difference? The winner's going to still be a winner. He's still going to be a Super Bowl champion.
Absolutely.
Like he played the best that he could.
I don't give a damn, bro.
Like exactly.
He can throw the football 0 times in the Super Bowl, and if they win, I don't care. I think the reason that this is a conversation is because history has shown that if you don't have at least a competent passing attack, you'll struggle in the playoffs. You'll struggle in the Super Bowl. Getting to the Super Bowl is a challenge. And the only thing I push back on what you said is like, yeah, the passing game looked competent, but it was at times, like you just said, right? It was when they were in no huddle, when they were in there, just let's get down the field, let's just be fast with it. When they were overthinking, that's what I feel like the name of the game with the offense this year has just been overthinking. It feels like galaxy brain, maybe just trying to do too much, and it's gone from different people. It's gone from Jalen doing too much to now the coaching staff doing too much. I'm not sure what's going on, but when they just simplify it, but not too simple either, because then we also have Roquan Smith calling out passing concepts the entire game, which it's not ideal, but they have kind of hung their hat on, we run a couple plays and we'll be really good at that in the last couple of years, but you don't want the linebackers calling out the plays either. Like that's not a great look either. So there's something that needs to, I feel like it's like right here, and it just hasn't clicked, and that's what it's waiting on. Because like you said, Quell, you do see the signs. I mean, you see the signs. Quick game, whenever they're just flowing in the game, whenever it's like, oh, we have to score, you start seeing them playing well. It's when they're just in the middle of the game from drive to drive, it just feels like they don't really have a goal, right? It just kind of feels like they're out there, and that's, you don't want that for the offense. And so, I mean, I guess it's encouraging that when they need to score, they can score. Just try to think that way every drive, and it might look even better.
Certainly,
all right,
man.
yeah. So, you want to get started with the game preview?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, let me hop into injuries right here. Give me 1 second. All right. So for the Steelers, as of Thursday, Patrick Queen, he was a full go. George Pickens, he's not expected to play. He missed last game with a hamstring injury. I know reports were earlier this week he's expected to miss this game. Mike Williams, he was a full go today. Najee Harris, he was a full go. Deshaun Elliott, cornerback, he missed practice with a hamstring injury. Isaac Seumalo, he was a full go. Cordero Patterson, he didn't practice, but it says he's only listed as a rest day. Larry, I don't want to butcher his name. Larry
Ogunjobi.
Okay, good pull, cool.
I knew it.
But yeah, Larry Ogunjobi, he did not practice today with a groin injury. So that's it for the Steelers. Then for the Eagles, the injuries report looks clean, man. Outside of Sidney Brown, who was limited today with the knee, the Eagles were a full go. All 53 guys were healthy, and they did practice today.
How we feeling, man?
I'm excited. It's weird that we've played all the AFC North opponents this year. We've had to play Black Air Force One football, and you got to play it one more time. I mean, especially with the Steelers, and we'll see whose black magic is stronger. This is the witchcraft bowl.
Oh, that black magic is about to come to a head, man. A head. I mean, this Steelers team, they've won 7 of their last 8, but not only but they're the only team in the NFL that is undefeated against teams that are above 500. So that's fun. That is really fun. But this is the first game of a gauntlet. We can call this the Royal Rumble if you want to, because each of their next combined 3 opponents have a combined record of 31-8. You get the Eagles, you get the Ravens, and you get the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Wow, let's have some fun. What do you do with this Steelers team, man? I mean, like you said, they've played a really interesting brand of football. I think I referred to it a couple weeks ago. They played I didn't specifically say it like this, but this is how I kind of phrased it in my notes this week. They played a great brand of football that we could only dream of. Where, I mean, Russ is comfortable. I mean, he's a veteran. He's comfortable in what Arthur Smith wants to do offensively, but the Steelers want to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to continue to run the ball. And the moment that you bring that safety down,
moonshot,
moonball. And it's like, what do you, I actually, that was another one of my questions I had in the notes where it was like, I'm very intrigued to see exactly how Vic Fangio goes about this. Will he stay true to his process? Will they commit to stopping this run with just the 4-man fronts that, I mean, they're number one in the league and run in terms of how often they run 4-man fronts? Can they stop the run consistently like that? Or if he decides to allocate more than 4, like he's proven to do, like against teams like Carolina, Washington, Baltimore, I don't want to say does he trust, because he's more than proven to trust his cornerbacks to live on those islands this year. At the same time, it's an occasional thing. Like, we won our fair share, man. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, we all see what they're saying about, well, Quignon has help, even though Quignon's playing great. I mean, don't get me wrong. The communication back there is the cover 6, the cover 4, all of the things that they do zone coverage-wise, they do a great job doing those things. So, exactly seeing how Vic decides to attack this Pittsburgh offense is exactly what I'm intrigued by. What you guys think about that?
Pressure Russ.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of an overview of the Steelers offense, 16th in EPA per drive, 18th in total DVOA, 15th in passing DVOA, 21st in rushing DVOA. Like I said, they're going to be without George Pickens. I know last week was their first game without him, and if I'm not mistaken, they had their worst passing performance of the year last week, right? So Mike Williams, I know he's going to be expected to take over for him. But yeah, I think schematically, it's kind of what you'd expect from an Arthur Smith offense. You know, like you said, Quell, heavily reliant on the run, a lot of play action. It's kind of funky personnel groupings. They lead the league in 13 personnel usage, the 12th and 12 personnel, 13th and 21 personnel. Like we talked about, you know, a lot of what they do is kind of predicated on the play action deep ball, which is kind of which is set up off of how much they run the ball. Now they do want to run the ball a lot, but at the same time, their efficiency as a rushing offense, it isn't really there. I guess that's the way you can phrase it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think it's Najee Harris. Like, when I think of Najee Harris, I don't want to say mediocre, but like, you think he'd be better than what he actually is, if that makes sense.
I think he's gotten better. I think he struggled coming out of college, and he had such high hopes coming out of the draft. But I think he's played this well this year. I mean, when I've watched him, I felt like he was running fine. Now, I think the efficiency goes down because they run the hell out of the ball, and they run it so often that, I mean, your averages are going to go down if you're not, you know, if you're just getting 2 yards every carry, and then maybe you'll break one every once in a while. But it's not like they're home runs either. You know, it's like 10 yards will break it. But yeah, I think the solution to beating this team is just pressuring Russ. When they do drop back, you have to not allow him to get comfortable back there, because when he just gets a little bit too skittish, especially if Pickens is not there. I mean, you saw last week, you know, Pickens has been a hell of a safety blanket. Like, that's just any.
Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, he's damn good at it. And shit, if I had George Pickens, I just throw it up to him too. I mean, that's what we're asking Jalen to do with AJ. That what's funny about this is, like, you know, there's the comparisons with Russ and Jalen, right? In play style and you know, just the sort of quarterbacks that they can be. And that's what we want to see out of Jalen as well, you know. And so we want to see him take those shots as well. We want to soften you up with the run and then take the shot with AJ or Devontae. But yeah, I think the solution is just pressuring Russ. When he's uncomfortable, he just doesn't look as good. And his record against Vic Fangio, I mean, they've played a lot because Vic was DC back in San Francisco. But since 2018, Russ has played a Vic Fangio defense twice. He's 0-2. Has had a sub-90 passer rating, and he's had 3 total turnovers.
Well, that's interesting to know, because Russell Wilson is 5-0 against the Eagles.
That was the next thing I was gonna say. Is it 5-0 or 4-0? It's 5-0.
It's 5-0. I seen
gross.
who was it? ML Football or one of them guys post 4-0. So I had to go
Blocked.
verify.
Blocked.
I had to go verify. I searched it in a couple of different spectrums, told me 5. So I was like, okay.
All right. Okay. Well, we're getting it back. Tired of this.
Okay. A point that both of you guys talked about, as far as pressure on Russ, making him uncomfortable. Specifically you, Q, you brought up the 4-man rushing, right? So I saw this earlier today. I think it was from The Athletic. The Eagles have the 4th highest pressure rate in the league when they send 4 rushers. The Steelers allow the 4th highest QB pressure rate when opposing teams send 4 rushers, right? Russell Wilson is completing just 30% of his passes when he faces pressure. So, a huge key in this game, like you guys outlined, I think it's going to be getting home with just 4 rushers, because we know this is Vic Fangio. He doesn't like the blitz like that. He's going to send 4. So, if they can get home against I don't want to say porous, but less than stellar Steelers offensive line, it'll work wonders for them. And then also a point that you made, Parth. This Steelers offense, it is really kind of similar to the Eagles offense, right? Just in terms of, I guess their approach, not from a philosophic, that's how you say it, philosophical standpoint, but just in terms of like what they like to do, right? In terms of the explosive play rate,
Exactly.
We don't really target the middle of the field, just like Pittsburgh. They don't really target the middle of the field. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to get this wrong. I think Russell Wilson targets the field, middle of the field, 30 at 31st, and Jalen is 32nd, or is either the other way around.
Flip him.
Yeah,
flip him. Russell Wilson is last at 36%. They target the middle of the field 30. Well, they target the middle of the field as a whole is 36%.
That's pretty funny,
so
man.
it could be. You could be right. He could be just ahead because Russ, he missed a couple games and Jaden them played all season. So that like you said a couple winners ago, part of them averages could have caught up to Jalen. But the Steelers as a whole.
Man. They're this. It's like they're like this, like such similar quarterbacks. Jalen's just not as corny as Russ, but
Jalen has way more aura, way more aura, infinitely more aura.
Hey man, let's not talk about Mr. Unlimited like this.
You drop that too much, bro.
That's my bar, boy. That is his nickname. Every time I talk about Russ, that is what it goes to. That and.
I knew it was coming. I hate this ad so much. I hate this commercial. It's so awkward. He's like,
It's pretty dangerous, don't you think?
God, he's the worst, bro.
No, but just a quick hitters before we get to the Eagles offense versus the Steelers defense. It's like you guys said, no George Pickens. So since George Pickens has went down, it seems as if the go-to guy on the offense has become tight end Pat Freiermuth, who during this time he's come to life over the last 3 weeks. 175 yards, which ranks 6th in tight ends during this stretch, and he's averaging 13.5 yards per reception, which is second behind George Kittle during that stretch. Now, that's the most interesting part about this Steelers offense is because they are unorthodox as hell, as I would put it. A lot of teams that we've talked about, I continue to harp on target distribution percentage and things of that nature. A lot of those teams that we love wide receivers. Well, for this Steelers team, they rank 26 in terms of targeting wide receivers at 51%. They're going to throw the ball to the tight end, which they rank 9th at, and they're going to throw the ball to the running back, which they rank 3rd at, which in turn opens up those, what you call them, moon balls. So it's going to be strange, man. They're going to play a weird brand of football. Now, it's interesting how we just talked about how they don't target the middle of the field, but they target these positions so much because that's specifically where they live, tight ends, running backs, middle of the field. So I'm excited to see how Arthur Smith is going to make it work for us, man.
The FedEx, the FedEx Baron.
Yeah, but just to put a bow on it, I think we see Vic Fangio use some of their kind of 5-man penny fronts against the Steelers, heavy personnel looks that allowed them to keep Cooper DeJean on the field. But I think, we're going to see them kind of stay in what's become, I guess, their base nickel in this game. But I also expect them to play a lot more man coverage. without George Pickens, the Steelers receiving core is kind of lackluster, I guess. I mean, you got Mike Williams, Calvin Austin. Who else is
And Jefferson? God,
yeah, Van Jefferson. Quez Watkins still kicking down there?
Nah.
Pull one out for my homie.
No,
I did that like 4 weeks ago, man.
Oh, that's good. You know he's actually the Baron of FedEx, right?
So
that's
Arthur
his father,
Smith?
right?
Yeah. His yeah. That wasn't. Yeah. You glossed over, but he's like, bro. His dad is like that owns or like the head of FedEx type. Like,
why are you coaching football?
Because
we have this conversation every time we tell
love of the game, bro.
Arthur
I
Smith,
respect the hell out of it. It's pure love of the game.
Say the same
he could be
thing.
sitting at home playing Madden.
Football?
He could be sitting at home playing Madden, but he's like, nah, I want to be on the sideline.
Love of the game.
Love of the game. I love it, man. No, but before we move on to the to our offense versus their defense, I just wanted to mention, I think the two players that, and I feel like I've said this every damn week, is it's gonna be a big Coop game, and it's gonna be a big Jalen Carter game. And Jalen Carter had a really big game last week, and I also wanted to mention it because I forget who it was. One of our listeners commented, they were like, could we move Jalen Carter around the D line like Chris Jones has been moved around a little bit, and now they didn't. Was it Cliff? Okay, so yeah, they weren't moving him around like Chris Jones, putting him all the way at the end, but they were moving him around a little bit more on the D line on the interior, just trying to get him some more one-on-ones, and so that should, if they can start getting into their bag on the defensive line too, and some switches there and things like that. Boy, it's going to get scary, man. It's going to get scary. So I think we're going to see Jalen Carter a lot in the backfield. I think he'll eat Russell Wilson for breakfast. And what?
Why are you trying to put a madman on Dangerous?
Because I want him to see what it's actually like to be in danger. And then I think it's going to be a big Coop game, just because, like you said, Quell, they target tight ends a lot, and we'll see, man. Is Cooper DeJean's kryptonite white receivers, and does that extend to tight ends? Pressing questions going into this week. So
that's what the streets need. There you go, the real ESP. That's PSP right there.
Exactly. I got you with the stats.
So let's get into the Eagles offense versus Steelers defense. Like we outlined, I think baseline, the key for this Eagles offense going into this game is just get the passing offense stabilized, right? This Pittsburgh passing defense, they rank 17th against the pass, but they lead the league in takeaways. That was kind of interesting to me.
Buddy.
But yeah, they're fourth against the run, 8th in total DVOA, 7th in pass DVOA, 14th in rush DVOA. Just to go over their personnel a little bit. They got some really, really dangerous guys up front. TJ Watt, former All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year. Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. Or is it Nate? Nick Herbig. Yeah.
Nick. I was going to say, yeah, shout out to Nate. Shout out to Nate.
But
former Eagle.
Yeah. On the back end, they got a really, really talented safety in Micah Fitzpatrick. Extremely versatile, very talented Alabama product. Like I said, they're really stout against the run. I know they added Patrick Queen in free agency. He's kind of been like a home run for them. I know he's been really effective against mobile quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, this year for them. So this defense, it's going to be a challenge, man. It's going to be a challenge. I know from a coverage standpoint, they typically play cover 3 or cover 1. They play man coverage at the 12th highest rate in the league. I know that they do like to leave their corners on an island. This Terrell Austin defense, he comes from that Baltimore Ravens kind of funky pressure package, hard nose, physical, Black Air Force One family of defenses. So again, man, it's gonna be a challenge, but I think they're gonna be up for it.
Yeah, I think what you said is correct. They have to, the passing game has to come alive this week, and I feel like we've said that every week, and they've gotten away with it. This is actually like a good defense, like you just outlined, and they can stop the run. They can stop the quarterback run too.
Oh, they gonna
leaves
brother,
the triple threat. That leaves one option.
Brother,
they gonna load the box. They gonna make them pass the ball.
I've been looking into that all week, and I mean, it's like a fine middle ground to be had. Specifically, the two Russian quarterbacks they played against. I guess I could drop the bar there where the Steelers allowed just 16 points to the Ravens and 27 to the Commanders. So shout out to the Commanders for putting up 27 points on the Ravens. I mean, on the Steelers. But during that game, the Lamar Jackson passing was 16 of 33 with a touchdown, an interception, and 2 sacks. Jaden Daniels passing was 17 of 34. No touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 3 times. In terms of the teams as rushers, the Commanders, who we all know what they do, the success that they've had as rushers. Well, only had 60 yards on the ground against the Steelers defense. Austin Eckler, who was the main back that night, 13 carries, 44 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Jaden Daniels was held in check, only 5 yards. And then, of course, when you look at the Ravens game, I mean, Ravens, it's hard to contain them. You can only hope to contain them, but they did a great job of containing them. When you look at a Baltimore offense and you talk about them only producing 124 yards on the ground all day, I'd like to think that's holding them in check, especially when you talk about Derrick Henry, 13 carries, 65 yards, Lamar Jackson, just 46 yards. So they've done a phenomenal job against the 2 mobile quarterbacks, or how I will put it, the run the pass combination teams that they've played so far. In terms of, like you said, Pierre, they take the ball away. They take the ball away like hell. Like you said, they lead the league in takeaways. It gets deeper than that, brother. It gets a lot deeper than that. They are the only team in the league that has a multiple game stretch of 3+ takeaways. Not only is a multiple game stretch, but they are in the midst of a 4-game stretch of 3+ takeaways right now. Right?
Wait,
Steelers defense,
like 3 in 1 game?
Yes. 4 consecutive games.
Jalen, maybe just stay a game manager one more week.
Yeah, no. Like, in terms of the Steelers defense, they scored the most points off turnovers with 85, while only allowing a league low 10 points off turnovers. So they don't give the ball away, and when they do, they're not going to let you in the end zone. And when they take the ball away, they take advantage of it. So this team, in terms of taking the ball away, is special.
Opportunistic.
Sounds like a Mike Tomlin coach football team, man. Have y'all gotten a chance to watch the Hard Knocks?
You're not gonna ask what he does?
Huh? I
said Quell's not gonna ask what he does here.
Nah, I'll give him a pass because Hard Knocks, he gave him a little bit of gimme. But my man Nick Sirianni done flexed his muscles over the last couple days too. So we all right. Y'all see what he do here. Big culture guy. Hands
guy.
Up.
Yeah, man. I think schematically, like I said, we'll see a ton of 1 high or cover 3 looks. I think that's gonna open up things for this passing offense. Like, again, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, you don't want them to go into this game and try and like bang their head against the wall and force explosives. But I do think opportunities will be there. I trust AJ Brown or Devontae Smith if they're lined up against Joey Porter Jr. or Dante Jackson. Porter Jr. specifically.
Hands-on
I know,
boy.
Yeah, scouting report on him, it's rang true
boy.
as he's progressed in his career in the NFL, like extremely, extremely physical. He's among the league leaders in holding and defensive pass interference penalties. So I think there'll be opportunities in the passing game for them to exploit. It just comes down to Jalen ripping the ball.
Taking advantage.
Yeah.
Because you can't get the PI unless you throw the ball towards them, right? Like, and gotta take advantage of it. And Mike Tomlin was talking about with Joey Porter, like, that's okay. Like that's okay from you. Like, we want you to play your game. Don't think about it too much. So, I mean, it's there. It's there. That option is there. But like Quell said, I mean, if they're getting turnovers in droves like this, you got to take care of the ball too. So,
okay,
striking the balance, not really a great get right game.
I mean, I still think they'll be able to run the ball. Like, yeah, this Steelers run defense is good, but
you can run the ball. But I mean, we're talking about everything,
exactly.
Right? We're talking about get right in terms of the passing game as well. And if we're talking about a guy who's afraid of causing turnovers right now because of coaching points from earlier in the year
against this team,
playing against the defense like averaging 3 turnovers the last 4 games is not the most conducive learning environment for him.
I just want to see Jalen. I need him to not play so indecisive, bro.
Nah,
Yeah,
Like
he just
it
looks
was
scared, bro. It looks
it was
miserable.
jarring for me to see him
No
play
aura.
like that. Like no aura, like dude, like all
Pierre
the
didn't even want to go on Twitter,
hesitancy.
bro. Pierre called off work. He didn't get out of bed. He's like, yo, Pierre's got no aura, man.
Like Jalen Hurts, they opened up the blinds. He was like, "No,
No.
They got my man Jalen. No. Oh
But
man.
I
You guys
guess.
got anything else on the game, or should we do predictions?
I guess just right before we get to predictions, man, I need you guys' help. I don't know what. Of course, you know that the game preview will be released on the website sometime over the next couple of days. I have it out, but I just need your guys' help. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do for the matchup to watch because in my heart it's so easy. Like we just outlined, AJ Brown versus JPJ. That's what the streets need. That's what the streets need. But then I think back to the fact that last time Saquon Barkley faced this Steelers defense, Ben Roethlisberger had more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. Boy,
Well, you gotta give us some information on that.
That's
What?
crazy. That's a hell of a stat, Quell. That is crazy.
To give you some context, that game was the second most attempts for a running back, or second most for a running back that had 15 plus carries and the least amount of yards. He had 15 carries and 6 yards on the day to Ben Roethlisberger's 9 yards. So now let's take into account he played for the Giants. So that the big difference, big offensive line difference, big weaponry difference. But buddy, talk about a guy looking for some revenge. So I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see which one I pick.
That's a hell of a matchup. That's a great stat, Quell. That's crazy. Ben Roethlisberger having more rushing yards than you is definitely a reason to maybe put put 100 on someone.
I was on TikTok the other day. I saw Ben Roethlisberger scramble highlight tape, bro. Big man, come on, bro.
He was moving.
It was hard to bring him down. My favorite Big Ben meme is the workout when they're hitting him with the bags and he just like he's not even dodging, bro. He just like walks through and he's like, y'all can hit me. No one's bringing me down. Throws it. It goes back over.
Big Ben meme is the one when Vince McMahon was like, "Come on out, you rapist." Boy,
let's get
no passes.
Let's get the game picks. let's get the game picks.
All right, man. This is gonna be a hell of a game. One more time, Black Air Force One football. Can the Eagles do it? That's the big time question. This Eagles defense have allowed under 23 points in 8 of their last 9 games. The Steelers have scored 27 in back-to-back games. I'm not quite sure if while they were reliant on, they can be relying on this dink or dunk offense. The prodigy of this offense is one to throw the ball down the field. And of course, they got Calvin Austin. They got Van Jefferson, but I just don't see them having the weaponry without George Pickens to do it. So I'll take it. It's going to be a hard-fought game. Eagles 24, Steelers 17.
So I don't think, like you said, Quell, I don't think without George Pickens, I don't know if Pittsburgh's offense has the I'll use your word, weaponry to keep up with this Eagles offense, which I do think they're going to get back on track, passing offense included. I think Saquon, he'll have success running the ball. Again, the Eagles, they played the Ravens earlier this year, who were the number 1 rushing defense at the time. They had success running the ball on them. This offensive line, it is the best in the league. And again, like I said, I think Jalen, AJ, Smitty, Kellen Moore, everybody included, I think they know last week wasn't up to the standard, man. I think they know they're going to have a better showing as we head into the playoffs. They're going to need to, really pull it together. I think this week is going to start that. I'm going to take the Eagles 28, Pittsburgh 16.
All right. Well, I'm not going to copy Quell anymore because he copied me without knowing mine. But I tend to think that
hey man, we can use the same score. Did we just become brothers?
Did we just become best friends? That's 2 weeks, 2 Step Brother references. Don't tell us we're not lovers of Step Brothers, man. No, don't tell me about that. I love that movie. No, you know what? I'm gonna go 24-17 as well. But I'm gonna get a little specific on y'all for a second. My prediction: I think Van Jefferson's gonna get a touchdown. He hasn't had a touchdown in weeks, but he's gonna be lined up in the slot on CJ, and it's gonna be a Gator on Gator crime. And I can already see it happening in my head. I can see that happening. So that's my little.
Ain't Tony Romo and Jim Nance? I can hear him. Van Jefferson.
It's a Fox game. It's a Fox game, isn't it?
For real?
I think it's a Fox game. No, it's a Fox game. Tom Brady's gonna be on the call. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Brady got so much better.
Brady and Kevin Burkhead or Burkhardt.
Yeah,
I like Brady. Brady's gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
but
no.
You got it.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, again, as always, we're gonna release this as a pod tomorrow. So on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review, rate it 5 stars, leave comments, all that. And again, to all 46 of you that tapped into the stream tonight, appreciate you for watching. You guys got anything y'all want to add before we get out?
Yeah. We always talk about subscribing on your friends and whoever's phone. I saw this video today. Go to the Apple Store. Go to Best Buy. Pull us up on every device there. Get us the views there. Why not? Why not? Subscribe from everywhere you can. Just find anywhere you see a subscribe button. Just click it for us, man. Anywhere you see a screen. The McDonald's mobile ordering kiosk. If you can hack it and get YouTube up on there, subscribe from there. Anything, man. But we appreciate y'all's support, man. It really means a lot. And all you guys who come and join us in the live, ask your questions. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I'm going to do everything I can to get them to turn that into a reel. That is what you call promotion right there.
All right. Thank you for watching. Go Birds.
Go Birds, man. Let's get right.
Clinch the division is